Very few things will divide an organization like the selfish behavior of someone on the team. Someone who feels like, well, I can come to work and as long as I output what I'm supposed to, what I do with the rest of my time is really up to me. Perhaps you've been that person who feels like, well, I've met my sales quota, or I've finished all the tasks that were on my desk, or I don't really have anything else left to do because all my deadlines have been met. And so if I want to play games on my phone, or I want to make phone calls that are personal, or I want to send emails or write a letter to my mom, it's nobody else's business. I'll just close the office door and do what I want to do. Hi, I'm J Loren Norris, and you're watching Leading Leaders Podcast. And I want to ask you today, if you were measured by your selflessness, would you still meet the standards that you're expected to meet? So when we look across the KPIs that most organizations have, the key performance indicators, when we look across the standards of performance reviews are usually based on productivity. How much output did you have? What sales goals did you reach? How many documents did you handle? How many phone calls did you make? And see, those are all volume measurements of the work that you do. I love the way John Maxwell says it. We tend to hire people for what they do, and then we fire them for who they are. It's real easy for productivity, bottom line, profit margin, keeping everything in the black, making the sales numbers soar. It's real easy for those things to exist even in a narcissist. Even in a person who's so very selfish that just given a moment of free time, it's all about them. Given an opportunity to either help someone else or take a nap, they're going to take a nap. Given the opportunity to go the extra mile for a customer, to deliver what maybe wasn't necessary, to think outside of their own domain of responsibility, their own area of proficiency, their own realm of productivity that is measured for their own performance. To think outside of that area, well, this is just not them. I caught myself yesterday being selfish, and maybe justified, if you will, but not what I want to be. And maybe even a way that others that are watching right now could say, guilty, I've done that. I went to renew my passport yesterday. And as I got to the location, and I honestly, I should have planned for more time, knowing the speed at which bureaucracy moves. As I pulled up to the parking lot for the building, there was one guy in the little booth. Now, this is one of those booths with the automated arms. The arm goes up when you pull the ticket to let you in, and then the arm goes up when you pay the ticket to leave. And for some reason, yet, he was still walking out and taking people's little cards and giving them the little tickets and all of the things that the automated system was designed to do. He had inserted himself into that. I don't know if it was job security or if the machine was broke or whatever, but when I pulled up, he walked out of his little booth, walked up to the window, asked me how long I was going to be there. I told him. He pushed the button on the side of the little machine and handed me the ticket, and the arm popped up, and I'm like, could I not have just put... Anyway, bureaucracy, right? So I took 10, maybe 15 minutes to get in the parking lot after waiting in line and traffic on a one-way street to turn into the parking lot and cars trying to get out of the parking lot on the same one-way street going the other way. Frustrating. Finally, I get in the parking lot. I get in the space. I gather up all my paperwork. I looked at the form. I looked at everything that was on the form. I said, yep, got everything. Got it all in my hands, and I Made my way in the door. Well, I get in the door realizing this is a federal building. They have metal detectors and basically the TSA strip search that you go through to get into the airport. So I took everything out of my pockets. I put all my forms in the little basket and I sent it through the machine. And I get to the other side and I realize that I carried basically a letter opener. Yes, it looks like a pocket knife. It's barely big enough to hurt a grape, in my opinion. Annie pointed out that you could kill somebody with a 1-inch pocket knife. Okay, but this is just almost big enough. But I said, it's a novelty item, basically. I'm willing to throw it away. He said, nope, can't throw it away. Can't be in the building. It's got to leave the building. I'm like, okay, well, can I leave my stuff here and go to the truck and come back? He said, nope, can't leave anything in the building. Okay, I'm already late because your parking garage is a train wreck. He said, that's not my problem. You should have been here earlier. Okay, so your silliness is making me even later. So I packed up all my stuff. I went all the way back to the car, and I put away my tiny little pocket knife. And I turned around, and I came back through, and I had to take off my belt and empty my pockets and go through the whole process yet again. So finally, I get to my 10:30 appointment about 10:48. And by the time I get upstairs and get in line, and there's a bunch of people, and there's a bunch of lines, and there's people who work there who are standing at the front of each of the lines just telling you why you're in the line. And I'm like, that doesn't seem really efficient, but okay. Well, I get to the front of the line. She says, do you have an appointment? I said, yes. She handed me this little postcard. And it looks like a printout of the very page that I was on my iPad, on my laptop, when I printed out the documents that it said I had to have. Only now there's a new one. And I said, the page is still open on my laptop. I can show you. That requirement isn't on there. She said, oh, it is. I've been on the page many times. I'm like, I'm on the page right now, and it's not on there. She said, maybe it's not on there on your computer, but it's there on every other computer in the world. How does that work? Regardless, you've got to have that form. So I got out of the line and went back down the stairs, and I asked her before I left, I said, so I have a 10:30 appointment. Does this mean I need to schedule another appointment for tomorrow and take the day off again, or what does this mean? She said, you can come back by 1 o'clock today. We'll still honor your appointment, but not without that form. Well, that form just happened to be the letter of travel requested and or plane tickets for the actual travel in order to get my passport renewed. Okay, so I start making phone calls. Calling the organizations, calling the travel organization. Can I just get the letter that says what date we're traveling and why we're traveling and where we're traveling to go with my paperwork so I can get this? And I sit down in the lobby, and of course the building is a federal building, so cell signals are kind of manipulated a little bit. And so you're not allowed to use your phone on the floor where the passport office is. You can't send an email, you can't send a text, you can't stand around with your phone. You have to leave the floor and go back to the first floor. Where if you're standing around for too long, security says if you're not in the lobby, which is a 5 by 5 foot area with 3 chairs, if you're not in that area, then you're loitering. And there'll be no loitering. So I can't stand here where my cell phone signal works. I can only stand over there. Can you tell my blood pressure was starting to get a little high? Oh, yeah. By this point, I was about ready to yell at anybody. But at the same time, I needed favors from other people. And so there was this constant tension in me. And this is the whole lesson that I'm trying to give you today. I was reaching the place where my own selfish wants, meaning my comfort, my simplicity through life, my ability to get done what I wanted to get done, was being hampered by other people's processes and procedures. And honestly, I have to say some of those processes and procedures seem to me to be absolutely ridiculous. But I'm sure, like the please don't use your snowblower on the roof, there was a justified reason for all of the bureaucracy. Frustrating for the rest of us, but a reason. And so I started making phone calls, and I started sending text messages, I started sending emails, and waiting for the documents. And an hour and a half after my appointment, I started receiving the documents needed to get through the now 90-minute-old appointment. And so I go back upstairs, and I get back in the line, and I go through the process, and finally they say, yes, you're able to go to the window. That doesn't mean you're done yet. You're able to go to the window where the woman checks all of your documents. Well, she opens the email from the document that was sent to me, makes zero effort whatsoever, looks at it, sees a letter on the screen, says, yes, I see your letter, click, prints, and for whatever reason, the settings on her computer didn't print the letter, it printed just the logo. She says, this won't work. I'm like, well, you have it on your screen. She said, yeah. I said, can you read it? Yeah. So you realize that it's the letter on the letterhead, it's exactly what you asked for, it has all the pertinent information? Yeah. But when I print it, all I get is a logo. You'll have to send it another way. In my head, I'm thinking, so because you're incompetent in the ability to click, print, page size, output, fill the screen, I have to resend the whole letter, which means I cannot do that from here. I have to go back down the stairs, out to the lobby area, and hope to get a signal enough to do this again. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I had to do. So now it's 1:15 from my 10:30 appointment, and what I have done for the day is up and down the elevator, in and out the door, up and down the elevator, in and out the door, for a 10:30 appointment where I had everything, the documents that I was supposed to have when I got there. Finally, after the third try, she's able to print the email. I don't know what was different from the first two tries, but you have it. So I get the documentation, she hands it back to me. She doesn't process anything. She's like, yep, you have one of these, you have one of these, you have one of these, here's a paperclip. Now here's your number. And all the numbers on the window say, now serving A113. Your number is C176. And I'm like, oh my God, how long am I going to be here? Again, selfishness, my wants, my needs, my desires, me, my, me. My me is all offended, and it's not being very productive, and my whole day is going to waste because there is no cell signal in this phone, which means my phone is struggling to have cell signal and it's dying, so I'm now at 9%. Guess where I'm going? Down the elevator, back to the car to get the battery. So I stopped and I asked the guy, I said, I'm still dealing with these emails and trying to get these documents back and forth. My phone's at 9%. Which one are you going to more likely let me in the building with? My cell phone extra battery or my iPad? He's like, I don't care, as long as it's not a knife. Okay, funny guy. So I go back to the car, I get my stuff, I get back upstairs, and finally they call my number. She says, well, it'll be 4 to 6 weeks to get your documents. I'm like, the purpose for that letter was to let you know that I travel in 4 weeks. If it's 4 to 6 weeks, I won't get it back, and I still have to get the visa? She's like, oh, you should have said that. And why you asked for the letter? My selfishness again, rising up. So while I was at lunch, I thought about it a little bit, I meditated on it a little bit, I prayed about it a little bit, and I thought to myself, there was not one out of the 6, as I perceived them, rude people who was mean to me. There was not one of them who was focused on or targeting me out of everybody else. Now, it was easy to think that. It was easy to feel that. And here was my clue. As I stood in line, as I went up and down the elevator, as I sat in the lobby downstairs, I was like one of 6 or 7 others being herded around like random cats for the same reason. You need that document. You have to have this email signed. You have to have this form sent in first. You have to go through this hurdle first. And the entire process seems like you're trying to funnel boulders through a straw. And yet, when you think about the protection it provides our country, efficiently or otherwise, I can't tell you, but I can tell you all of these people were simply doing their job. And honestly, probably doing it very well. It bugged me. It bothered me. It irritated me that I couldn't walk into a 10:30 appointment, do my business, and walk out of there by 11. I missed a meeting at 11:30 that was pretty important to me. I missed lunch. I missed a lot of things sitting in the passport office. But while I was grabbing my lunch in the little cafe thing, I realized I had an attitude toward all of these people who were simply doing their job. Now I'm going to ask you, maybe you haven't been to the passport office, but maybe it's the DMV, or maybe it's the bank, or maybe it's somewhere else where you've encountered multiple people who were simply doing their jobs well, but it didn't suit your needs or your pace or your agenda. And it frustrated you along the way. And I'm going to ask you, is there a chance that your selfishness changed the bottom line measurement? That it wasn't about profitability, it wasn't about productivity, it wasn't about anything else, it was just what you want. I want my time back. I want this to be a smooth process. I want this to be easy. I want everybody to cater to me. I want it to be simple in life. I brought the forms that I saw listed on there. I didn't see that other one listed. You should do it my way because that's what I saw. Doesn't work that way. Which is probably why they have armed guards at every station in that building, because people get frustrated, people get aggravated, people get irritated. One of the ladies that was a sojourner with me through that process made it all the way to the airport. She was standing in line to get on the plane, and the ticket agent at the gate realized someone had hole punched her passport. She said, that happened when I went to such and such a country about a year and a half ago. I didn't think anything about it. I just stuck it back in my travel bag and away I went. But now I'm trying to go to Canada and they won't let me out of the U.S. because there's a hole punch in my passport. I thought, I guess they consider that damage. I didn't think anything about it until I got my old one back. And see, when you go through the process and get the new one and the old one, the way they indicate that your passport is no longer valid is they punch 2 holes in it in very specific places. And so a passport that has 2 holes in it is a passport that has intentionally been invalidated. It's expired, it's been replaced, it's been revoked. And while she didn't know or wasn't forthright with the truth about how those holes got there, it was an indicator to everybody else that there's a reason you're not getting on that plane. Now, that was frustrating to her and frustrating for her travel and frustrating for her friends, and her selfishness was really rising up. She was getting very angry in this process. But the ladies and gentlemen around her were able to enhance their calm and deal with her in the most viable manner. And that was one of those things that stuck in me, and I said, I'm getting excited, I'm getting anxiety, I'm getting riled up, I'm getting in it, and it's selfishness. It's just selfishness. I'm not getting what I want. And so while I was out of the building, waiting for my passport to be ready for the same-day passport expedited service, which is pretty incredible when you think about all the other things that go into that, I decided to do something kind, and I bought 6 packages of the little famous Amos chocolate chip cookies, and some chocolate chips, some double chocolate, and I took them back. And as I went through security, I said, aren't you guys the same guys that were here when I came through here earlier this morning? And they said, yep, we'll be here 12 hours a day. And so I held open the little shopping bag, and I said, do you want chocolate or double chocolate? And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, I brought you gifts. And the look on their face was like, that's odd. Why would anybody do that? And I said, I appreciate what you guys do. And I gave them chocolate chip cookies. And I offered them to the same girls that helped me upstairs, and one of them said, I'm on a diet, I can't have them. And the other was like, I love double chocolate chip. But why are you giving to me? I said, just to thank you. It's not a bribe. All the work is already done. It's just a thank you for the work that you do. I want you to stop today and ask yourself along the way through the process. Maybe it's not nearly as convoluted as the up and down, and maybe it's just the one person in your office that every day seems to test your patience. Maybe it's that family member that has 9,000 questions and none of them make any sense to you. Maybe it's that person in traffic that's just driving like an idiot. But do you allow your selfishness, your I wants, to overwhelm your leadership? Do you lead in such a way that what you want is more important than anything else? Or can you, as a leader, be selfless? Get outside your box, even if it doesn't match your KPIs, even if it doesn't match your bottom line productivity, even if it doesn't enhance your own performance measurements at the end of the year when your evaluation comes or when the board comes to review your job. Do something for someone else today. Remember, leadership, it's influence. Nothing more and nothing less. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.